Hi and welcome to this short lecture within the Flowing Mudra series. I'm Mina, and in this series we're exploring mudras within the context of an asana practice and trying to incorporate these in a very organic way, and hopefully through the practice you'll get a feel for this mudra so that it really becomes embodied knowledge. So before we start, just to say that mudras, of course, means seal, and they refer to different symbolic hand gestures within the Hindu and Buddhist tradition, as well as in Indian dance. The reason I wanted to film this was because I always felt that mudras are often incorporated into vinyasa or general asana practice as an afterthought, because they look pretty, and they do. And I think that's a very valid way to incorporate something into your practice. If something's beautiful, then you feel like it uplifts you, and that will give you, added value or a different way to approach your practice. However, in a past life, it seems, I studied fashion design, where we often talk about form follows function. And, it's often looked down upon adding decorations and ornaments as an afterthought or afterwards, kind of as if it would just attach to the finished project just to make it pretty. And since mudras are so powerful, I think there's a huge potential to actually make the mudras, form follow function, and therefore get a much deeper, more profound effect through the mudras. And one of the reasons that mudras are so powerful is that they use the hands and the fingers. If you've ever seen a sensory or cortical homunculus, you can look that up if you haven't seen one, then you'll know that their hands are huge. Face is also huge, but the hands are really big. And that means that the hands and the sensory information we get from them takes up a huge amount of space within our brain. And so what we do with our hands, how we touch, what they feel like, has a huge effect also on our nervous system. And also on an anatomical level, the hands basically start in our shoulder blades, in the back of our heart. And on an esoteric level, the heart chakra relates to the element of air, and also to the sense of touch. So by using our hands, we're also directly affecting our heart chakra. If we go further into the esoteric meaning of the mudras, then we will see that we can influence our subtle bodies through the different positioning of our fingers and our hands. It is said that the nadis, which are the pathways for the subtle energy or the prana, end up in different fingers, and so therefore by positioning the fingers and the hands in a different way, we can impact the flow of energy within our bodies and help us to either strengthen or decrease certain tendencies and certain elements within our bodies. And this can sound quite out there for some people who are not used to subtle energy, anatomy, etc. They might feel, oh, I'm not sensitive enough to feel these things, or, it sounds like woo-woo. But if we look at how we use gestures in our everyday life, I don't think it's that far-fetched. So for example, if I make a fist, or this one is a very, very clear gesture, then right away you feel in your body that, whoa, you're pumping up, you're getting ready to fight. And it's signaling within you, but also to the world outside, a certain state that you're in. On the other hand, if I raise the finger and go right away into I told you so mode, it's a very different kind of feel that you get within your body. Your facial expression changes right away. And Another example might be, you bring your hands onto your heart, and if you see something cute or something that's very, very touching, and you put your hands onto your heart, it's gonna have a directly different effect, a much calmer, much more parasympathetic right away. So we all gesture differently. Some people gesture more, some cultures gesture more or less, but it's part of human nature to gesture. And as I've said, the hands and the nerves carry so much information, so it makes sense for us to also use the hands in a very, very expressive way. On a different topic, I grew up watching ninja TV series in Japan from when I was little, and I've always wanted to be a ninja, obviously, or a female ninja, which would be a kunoichi. And ninjas are using often a succession of different mudras in conjunction with mantras sometimes, or spoken syllables, to change the winds within their bodies or influence the vayus, and therefore manifest superpowers or siddhis. And I mention this because this ninja culture is basically an offshoot of the Japanese tantric Buddhist tradition, which is an esoteric or hidden tradition. And this is a case of spiritual culture leaking into pop culture and making its way into, kids' brains and Halloween costumes. And that is a leak within a culture. Or an example of how, mudras have been appropriated within a culture. If you follow, obviously, the Japanese, the Mikkyo, the Buddhist Mikkyo, or the esoteric tantric tradition back, obviously it comes from China, and then back from India, where, it originated in the Hindu culture and from the yogis. So the mudras might have been set forth to begin with by the yogic saints and seers, the rishis. But one thing I want to point out is that our subtle anatomy, no matter how different we look on the outside, or where we come from Japan or Senegal or from the States or from India, our subtle internal anatomy is the same within each and every human being. So if you can access this knowledge and start to gain a wisdom and an entrance into your own subtle anatomy by playing with these things, being curious, inquisitive, then they can become part of your own vocabulary.